Hari Om and welcome. Let's continue our dive into the knowledge of prana, pranayama, and yoga science. And we take in passages from this book of Bihar School, and we talk about them, and we commented on them. And I'll come back to this chapter about Nadis, and we kind of talked about this throughout and through my classes. If you follow me, I do always bring awareness to the channels, to the Nadis, to the chakras essentially as well. So let's just a little bit look at this. What are they? But I very in detail talk about this in my chakra course as well. So you directly learn about this. But we just will learn the basics from here. Nadis, or channels of prana. This is what it is. Here it says, imagine the rush of energy that you experience in the moment of exhilaration. Now feel the channels through which the energy travels during such experiences. At first, it might be seems incomprehensive, but these flows might be traced when the concentration becomes deeper. So modern science explains this process in terms of the nerve impulses, but the ancient seers perceive it as an energy and consciousness flowing through interconnected channels in the body called nadis, which form an energy network. And I already touched this before, about that we even have ways to see those channels. We have a Korean photography, the particular equipment that can photograph it. And we can see it not just in the human body, the hand, you can see like an aura, the gold aura around the channels. You can also see it in every other live organism on this planet. For example, leaf of the tree. You can keep it in your mind as your very mind trying to explain everything. With a science person, you can explain it to yourself as the nervous impulses, whatever electromagnetic, biomagnetic field of the humans, and whatever it is, this should be the flows. Like if you looked on a geomagnetic map kind of the Earth or any other planet, for example, Mars, here's I would say not geomagnetic, but magnetic field, Mars magnetic field. You will also see the patterns and energy flows somewhere, and it goes into something. So in the human body, it's exactly the same. It's a little bit more complex because we are not spheric like a Mars or Earth object or whatever being. We are more complicated. So we have in the fingers and the nerves and different organs. So it's a little bit more sophisticated, as you would say, but the basic principles. And when you look on those maps of the Earth, for example, the magnetic field, so it isn't coming from the physical North Pole, but magnetic North Pole, and the energy channels go flow, and they somewhere disappearing, somewhere dive into the channels. It also changes throughout, and we can experience see same in the people or animals, for example. Yeah? However, yogis knew about this and give the names for it and experience this and work with it even before then the physics and magnetism was discovered in the modern science. The word nadi means flow. In this sense, nadis are subtle flows of energy. Just as electricity, radio waves, and laser beams are subtle flows. Nadis relate to the energy body and should not be confused with nerves, which relate to the physical body. And that's what I say, because the nerves, yes, they do create like some kind of electricity resonance around them, and they more or less matching with these nadi channels. But we also have some nadi channels in these chakras, kind of say, like, for example, outside of the body, or like, for example, we have in the hand, on the shoulders, and they not that directly related to that. And they have a little bit different properties and responses and stuff like that than nervous system. Yeah? So nadis are pathways of pranic, mental, and spiritual currents, which form a matrix throughout the physical body. They provide energy to every cell, organ, and part through the vast network, carrying prana back and forth in every direction. Nadis are not physical, measurable, or dissectable structures within the body, but channels of energy which underlie and sustain life and consciousness. In higher states of consciousness, the nadi can actually be seen as flows of energy as described by the yogis. They can be perceived at the physical level as distinct channels of light, color, and sound. At the same time, the nadis underline and are mirrored in all bodily functions and processes. That's what I say. So it's kind of like a blueprint if you're thinking about your nadi channels and chakras and stuff in the nervous system and, for example, hormonal system. It's very nicely interesting, interconnected. And there's a reason for that. And we also talked about this point before, in the beginning, we talk about prana, that the body can still function, be alive, but the moment, the second you remove the prana, life force, energy, it will be, just a dead tissue, basically. That's what it's trying to say here. It's provide this life energy and conscience to every part of you. Because many people ask me, and it's very hard to understand, like if you have, for example, hand and you lose a finger, so before it was part of you, so it was you, but the moment you lose the finger, it's disconnected from you and you didn't attach it in time. Are you with this finger? So you lost part of yourself, but you don't, and but where are you? So how far we can kind of removing parts of our body till we feel that we basically disconnected. And the answer here will be like, well, there's no answer for that. So I won't be in my finger anymore, but I also won't be losing this part of me. Physically, it will be uncomfortable, but on a spiritual and energy level, I will still have this part. In a similar, but the death of the person happens the moment, or the body, the moment this life force energy leaves, the body. When we, for example, the famous story of Frankenstein, so if we recreate biologically, one-to-one, very sophisticated, for example, in the future, the body, and then we're going to run everything, hormonal system, brain, we even figure out how the brain works, which is almost impossible. Every cell, every DNA cell, and we recreate this body, like Frankenstein been recreated, remember in the book, but how we bring the life force, so it's this body have energy to live. This is beyond our physical, scientific understanding of this world, and I don't think we can figure out how to do this unless we step into the spiritual, energetic aspects, yogic aspects of the existence. And that's why when people even talk about artificial intelligence and this kind of stuff, yes, you can recreate something that mimicking the algorithms and behavior of people, or the way they can be even much smarter and remember more things and more sophisticated in this sense, but they never will have this spark of life energy force in them. And we know we cannot force it on even on a human being. If the person dies, no matter how, with any tools, equipment, you try to keep this person alive, if the energy force decided to live, or it's time for it to live, we cannot bring it back from the dead. So that's something that which people don't talk about much, I notice. There should be conversation between and science community and the biological engineering community and the spiritual community, because that's so obvious, but it's so not spoken about. And there's so much confusion put into people's mind about life and death and what it is. Rabbit, for example, he has the prana energy life force. We can spend all our money, time, and energy to recreate the body of the rabbit, make it function, make it jump, but we'll never have ability to bring its prana life force to the rabbit, unless there'll be some kind of sophisticated saint or guru who could do that, and he will know the answer to that. Think about this in this sense. That's what they're trying to explain. In our nadi channels and chakras, these things, this body that's been coming here in this physical body for time, that's how I see it. This has this view, the map. So I have my physical body, which look like that. But if I look at myself through my energy point, or a guru look at me, and you do see this if you start practicing yoga and start being attuned to the subtle energy, as I say, it's here in this book, you start seeing the energies flows, the colors, the different aspects of this energy body. And many healers do this, they see. And some people see people in color or energy flows or in emotion, and it's hard to explain, but it exists. It's not something that people imagine, especially children, they see that easier. Scientific research has been carried out to verify the existence of the nadis. Dr. Hiroshi Matayama pioneered this research and found subtle voltage of electromagnetic currency flowing within close proximity to the nervous system, which he cited as evidence for the existence of nadis. The network of nadi is so subtle and vast that even the yogi texts differ in calculation of the exact number. There's a reference to it in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. There's a 72,000 nadis. Parapanchasara Tantra gives the number of 300,000. while the Shiva Samhita states that 350 southern nadis emerge from the navel center. You can imagine how sophisticated is this. Let's look on the major nadis. So let's just go through them. We will talk about them and the location. Out of the thousands of nadis, which include all the major and minor flows, 72 are considered important. 72. So you just need to remember 72, not 300,000. Good news. Out of the 72, 10 are considered to be major. Among the 10 major prana flows, 3 are most significant. Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. That's what we'll talk about. And that's what we talked about in every yoga class. You practice on those. And sometimes I name them. Sometimes I don't name them directly. I just say what you experience. And we're talking about those. These 3 major nadis are situated in the spinal column and pass through every chakra. Here it says, every known 7 chakra. We have 7 chakras going through the main axis of the body. But we also have some other chakras, and here it's those main ones. Ida Nadi is the mental channel, Pingala Nadi is the vital channel, and Sushumna Nadi the spiritual channel. That's how you can interpret them. Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna are the 3 main channels for the distribution of energy throughout the entire pranic network. Maximum pranic charges flow through them, and they impact the entire network instantly. They're the high voltage wires that conduct the energy from the substations or chakras situated along the spinal column to all the other nadis. Well, that's how you try to kind of explain it for us who, for example, maybe understands physics. Not many of us understand physics. But we know we have electricity that running from one charge to the other. It's electrons, free electrons in whatever medium you have. They're trying to align themselves. And that's how you get electricity current. But with that, if you kind of trying to coil it or whatever, you must start having all these magnetic fields and stuff. And they possess different properties. And then the properties changes, depends how you rearrange it. And that's what we are as well doing with nadis and chakras. 3 main, the Sushumna, Nadi and Pingala, there's 2 channels that they start from the base and they swirl around. And they crisscross exactly 7 times and they're finishing in here in Ajna in the middle. And if you ever seen, the symbol of the medicine, it's come from ancient Greek, but it's also have deep roots coming from probably India, Middle East, that we have one stick, like a staff, and you have 2 snakes. Sometimes they appear as a snake, or just 2 lines, crisscross, and then they finishing in the top. And often in the medicine, they depict it as a snake, or snake curves. This is what it is. This is your Sushumna and Ida Pingala. So now you know where it's come from and what does it mean. And maybe people who are medicine workers or doctors or whatever, they don't even understand it's exactly that, where it's come from. It's come from that. After Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, the 7 lesser major nadis includes Gandhari, Hastijiva, Yashaswini, Pusha, Alambusha, Kuhu, and Shankini, and I might not pronounce them correctly. Some texts mention 90 major nadis and include Jiva, Kurma, Payaswini, Saraswati, Saumya, Sura, Varuni, Viloma, and Vishvodari. For all practical purposes, however, one need only concentrate on Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, and these 3 govern the whole system of the nadi in all body process. In pranayama and pranavidya, the practitioner works chiefly with these 3 chakras, mainly. These 3 pathas are known as Ganga, Ida, Yamuna, Pingala, and Saraswati, Sushumna, after the 3 most important rivers in India, the last being the underground flow, Saraswati. Saraswati, it's come through a lot of scriptures and Upanishads and all this kind of stuff. It's underground and it's used to be, and because of climate change, it's also the geography of India changed. So it used to be, probably when the scriptures were written, it was quite a flow and dominant river flow, and then it's changed, become underground one. You can still trace it geographically on the modern Indonesian peninsula. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, I actually have another science channel where you can learn about our planet and geography. That's where my knowledge comes from. The junction where these 3 rivers join is called Prayag, located outside of Allahabad in North India. In the pranic body, they converge at Ajna chakra. That's what I say. They converge here. Pingala is also known as the Surya, like a sun, a solar nadi, and Ida is the Chandra, which means new moon, or lunar nadi. Luna, it's another name for moon. Some traditions you find Luna, like in Russian language, Luna, it's the moon. Moon is the moon. Ida and Pingala indicate time, while Sushumna is the devour of time, since it leads to timelessness or eternity. These three channels, they're so important in when we get our enlightenment. So, as I said before, the idea is to balance both channels. So often in our everyday life, we have one channel more active than other, and it explains our behavioral pattern. When we're more active with the solar energy one, we're more outgoing, more expressive, maybe more aggressive. And when the Chandra or either one more active, the more calmer one, cooler energy, we're more introverts, we want to stay alone maybe, we're more calm, these kind of energies. It doesn't have to be so straightforward, but it tends to be. And the same, they connected, when they connected in Ajna, they connected to both hemisphere of our brain. And we have particular practice, Nadis Shodhana or Alulom Viloma, when you don't even touch the nose, or when you close one by one nostrils. That directly what we're doing, we're switching one channel and the other. And by equally switching them, you start balancing them out, because usually one work more than other. Throughout the day, throughout the life, throughout the tendencies, even like you wake up half an hour, one channel more active than other one, and it switches. And they will directly affect how you feel towards the world, how you communicate with other people. It's very important. You might disagree with your partner because you're on one channel, for example, Pingala, and here her channel activated Ida, and you will conflict, you will not agree on some points. So the good thing to do for both of you, sit together, do Nadis Shodhana for 9 rounds, and you will feel much more open and interested in listening and receiving information. So that's what we do in yoga. And then when we balance them out, and then we start rising Kundalini, so we're waking up the Sushumna the one. So when everything is aligned and working equally, energetically, the main channel Sushumna activated, and the energy start rising up from dormant, sleeping energy from your Muladhara, going up through. And while she's rising up through, she's activated all the points. It's kind of like a computer board or a spaceship or something. You press all the buttons, everything get activated, and the rocket goes into the space. Similar happening within. But we'll talk about this later in more detail. Meanwhile, stay safe. Blessings.